low flying plane, no problem. Enemy fighter on Poppy, no worries. A spotted tank a mile away that I can't see, yeah, easy. And shooting a fighter through the resupply, also easy. Yet, 2 assaults in a field? Oh dear. Best to just run away. And 1 enemy sneaking up on my left side, you'd reckon that wouldn't be a problem. But watch, it is. Having tanked through the start of Battlefield 5, we've been through some tough times. I know what it's like to have a paper thin tank. I know how to deal with it, but right now I feel tanking meta is in a very bad place indeed. In this video I'm just going to go over a few of the little things, little changes that DICE have made that have made tanking up close and being an aggressive tanker very ineffective. The first thing I'll start off with is the introduction of 2 anti-tank weapons, the Bazooka and the lunge mine. These 2 weapons in their introduction have fundamentally changed the way tankers can operate. First we have the Bazooka, a weapon which is incredibly effective at all ranges, has a very flat trajectory, and also it has a maximum ammo of 5 compared to 3 with all other launchers. Now, what has this got to do with anything? Well, basically it means normally in the old days you used to be able to push up to a cap, take a bit of damage and pull back, knowing you could be safe behind your smoke cloud and put distance between you and the enemy. Now the enemy is able to shoot you well back as you're pulling back, therefore you have to pull off cap earlier, which is incredibly annoying, especially when you really want to hit an objective, your team needs it, but there's absolutely nothing you can do because of the squad of bazookas just firing their rockets at you. While the lunge mine might be a bit of a meme, and to be honest its effectiveness is a bit sketchy, when you combine it with the fact that for some reason hit reg on infantry seems to be rather broken at the minute, like you saw in the previous videos, it can be a recipe for disaster. Now to move on to another thing, and this is something I don't think DICE has told us about in the patch notes, but it seems these days the amount of permanent damage dealt by enemy AT, planes, whatever, seems to be a lot more. Therefore, repairing yourself and the self-repair doesn't repair all your damage. It repairs nowhere near, you have to go back to a resupply. Now this for an aggressive tanker is pretty much the number one, the worst, the pits, the absolute pits. Because you can't rely on your self-repair to fix battle damage. You have to go back to a resupply, which usually to get to a safe resupply you have to travel a long way away from the action. Or option 2, you get someone to repair you. Now I've been seeing this a lot more these days, and personally in a tank battle I believe it takes all the skill, all the fun out of it. In fact a heavy tank again can pretty much be invulnerable, as you'll see in this clip here. There are 4 tanks shooting at me now, I have 2 repairers, and the damage is only slightly going down on me. It was only when an AT gun decides to start shooting at me that I was able to be taken out. That's just with 2 repairers versus 4 tanks and 1 AT gun. Now clearly this has got to change. We're seeing it in the comps too. Heavy tanks just being completely immortal. You can literally just run out of shells in the medium, and we really need to do something about it in the comps I feel, because it's just no fun. It takes every bit of skill out of tanking. Which brings me to the next master stroke that DICE has done, and that's to change the factions. Swapping out the British for the Americans. Now I can pretty much make a video on why the Sherman is just a complete piece of shit, but let's just say Shermans, they're good up close against tanks, but any other range they're completely terrible. The shell velocity is just nowhere near what it should be for a 76mm. You got ridiculous specialisations like that scope zoom, which just throws off your muscle memory. And also going up against the Germans, who have Tigers with AP rounds. You have also Panzer IVs with AP rounds, fairly flat trajectory. You can be sniped before you can even move up and return fire. And because of the low shell velocity also, you can't hit your critical shots, you can't take out your turrets, your tracks, it's just hit. There's no exact accuracy to it if the shell velocity is so slow. Add to the fact they're pretty much paper thin and the physics on them is absolutely terrible. I don't know why DICE have decided to do this, but it was a terrible idea. I'm also hearing from pilots that it's completely thrown off plane balance too. But it's what we have to deal with now. Back in the day when it was the German tanks versus the British tanks had a slight advantage over the Germans, but the balance was pretty good. It wasn't bad at all. But now we're seeing the balance thrown completely out, where Shermans are just pretty much sniped off from a distance and there's nothing the Sherman can do. And unless you can get close, yeah sure, you can two-hit a Panzer IV, no worries, but to be honest, you're going to run into lots of Tigers, then you're going to run into Panzer IVs, and by the time you get close you're going to have a hell of a lot of damage and you're going to have a very hard time being effective. Now to planes. Do I really need to say anything here other than they're broken and that the new Night Fighter can disappear visually from your screen only to reappear and bomb you? The amount of planes that can one-hit kill a tank with zero skill is just ridiculous, not to mention that Mosquito with the giant bomb. It shouldn't even be in the game, like, it's just ridiculous. Now I know DICE have been trying hard to fix the balance issue with aircraft and ground, but it's just not working. Like the AA buffs they gave against fighters was too strong, when fighters weren't really the issue. It's always been bombers. It was only fighters when the VB had the bugged rockets. I hope in Battlefield 6 DICE can learn the lessons they've learnt with vehicle balance in BF5 and finally bring an end to bomber farming once and for all. And if I had to say one thing about tanks in BF6, the way DICE should go, please, gameplay over realism every time. We don't want animations getting in and out of vehicles. We want to pull off those epic, insane battlefield moments, just like in BF4. Try and make the skill ceiling as high as you possibly can. Even adding things like shooting at vehicle slits can take out the ability to drive a tank for 30 seconds or something like that. So, like really high skill things, just add them in there. Give us something to play with, give us something to strive towards, and just make it so it rewards skilled, aggressive tanking, not sitting on a hill 10 miles back while your team gets stomped. And if you made it this far through the video, I thank you for putting up with my rant. If you think I'm talking shit or you agree with me, just leave a few comments and let's get some discussion happening, because I really want to hear what especially infantry have to say about what I've just said. And I'll see you all next video. Thanks for watching, guys.